Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be profiling a brand new penny stock to the channel. The company name is Cybin Inc, and they're involved in the biopharmaceutical space. Now I'm really excited to talk about this one for a number of reasons we're going to outline in today's presentation, but before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to me and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Cybin, what you think about their business model, and how you feel they stack up to some of the other players in this space. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be profiling Cybin Incorporated, trades here on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol CYBN, and on the NEO here in Canada under the same ticker symbol CYBN.NE. And as mentioned in the intro, this is a company that's involved in the biopharmaceutical space, specifically focused on developing psychedelic-based therapies. And we're actually going to talk about some of their development cycle a little bit later in the presentation. But before we do, I wanted to take a quick look at the chart. So if we pull up a 6-month chart on Cybin, you can see they've been downtrending quite significantly, very similar to a lot of the companies that we've talked about on the channel and the market at large over the last couple of months. So if we actually look back to the middle of November, this company was trading in the neighborhood of about $1.88 US. And as of close here on Monday, May 9th, you can see they actually closed out sub 50 cents. They were down 2.5 cents on the day, or about 4.8%, to close out at 49 cents US. Now in after hours trading, they're up slightly. They recovered about 1.4%, but this is definitely presenting a buying opportunity if you're looking for exposure to the psychedelic or biopharmaceutical space. And that's really one of the reasons I wanted to get this stock in front of you guys and get it on your watch list moving into the month of May. Now if we jump over to the Cybin corporate website, you can see here the landing page states changing minds, really focused on this mission to revolutionize mental health care. Again, in the biopharmaceutical space, this is a psychedelic-based therapeutics company, and we're going to look at their pipeline of new drugs later in today's presentation. But I wanted to scroll through this page because it really lays out quite nicely two of the key pillars we're going to talk about in today's video. So number one, you guys, led by science. So this is really a key theme at Cybin Incorporated. And the other thing that really separates this company from some of the others we've talked about on the channel is the experience of the leadership team. And we're going to look at this towards the end of today's video as well. Now, if we jump over to the investors tab, you can see under the corporate overview, I'll go through this quickly for those of you who maybe aren't super familiar with this company. Cybin is a leading ethical biopharmaceutical company working with a network of world-class partners and internationally recognized scientists on a mission to create safe and effective therapeutics for patients to address a multitude of mental health issues. Headquartered in Canada and founded back in 2019, Cybin is operational in the United States, UK, and Ireland. The company is focused on progressing psychedelics to therapeutics by engineering proprietary drug discovery platforms, innovative drug discovery systems, novel formulation approaches, and treatment regimes for mental health disorders, again, which we're going to look at in today's presentation. And a couple of the key reasons to invest here: they've got 3 active drug programs targeting major depressive disorder, AUD or alcohol use disorder, which we've talked about in some previous videos, anxiety disorders, and neuroinflammation. And we're actually going to look at each of these 3 programs in a couple of seconds here. They have $120 million raised to date to really progress their M&A or merger acquisition strategy and these clinical trials. They've got 50 novel compounds developed with more than 10 patent filings across 3 patent families. And as of December 31st, so the last day of 2021, they had cash and cash equivalents of $63.6 million. So very well funded, great balance sheet here, you guys. Not to mention a huge pipeline of IP or intellectual property, again, that we're going to explore in today's presentation. Now, with that being said, we're going to shift over to the investor presentation and talk about this transition from psychedelics to therapeutics mentioned in the intro. So at Cybin, we're on a mission to engineer transformative psychedelic therapeutics to improve patients' mental health and clinical outcomes. So this is a space that's receiving a ton of attention recently. Obviously, mental health is a massive opportunity. Not only are the number of people struggling with these conditions continuing to rise, but the existing treatments, again, as we've discussed in previous videos, really aren't effective and don't meet the mark for a lot of people and families that are struggling with these disorders. So the team at Cybin is really looking to revolutionize this space by focusing on 4 core areas within their ecosystem. So number 1 is going to be that novel drug discovery with optimized properties, and we're actually going to look at a couple recent news articles that have come out in the month of April in regards to some of the progress they're making. Second is that robust IP portfolio, which I just mentioned for each molecule. Third is going to be their proprietary psychological support program named EMBARK for patients and clinical facilitators. And fourth and final point here, you guys, is the treatments for mental health conditions with large unmet needs. And again, that's similar to the theme I just mentioned, with the current options really falling short and leaving a lot of patients struggling with these conditions. And that's a great segue to this slide here, which really talks about this unmet need and lays out the 3 different active drug programs or substances that Cybin is focused on. So the World Health Organization, or the WHO, states that mental health disorders affect more than 900 million people globally. So when you talk about total addressable market, this is absolutely massive. And again, the 3 different drug programs here, you guys, are really focused around depression, alcohol use disorder or AUD, and anxiety disorders. And they're actually using these proprietary compounds or drugs labeled below, so CYB003 to treat depression and alcohol use disorder, and CYB004 to really address anxiety disorder. Now, the other one we mentioned is going to be CYB005, and this is the drug or drug program focused on neuroinflammation. So when we're talking about CYB003 and CYB004, you can see 800,000 global deaths each and every year from suicide. Up to 85% of people in low and middle income countries receive no treatment for their depression disorders. So a huge opportunity there alone. Alcohol use disorder, it's estimated that 95,000 deaths in the United States alone are related to alcohol, with 3 million deaths globally attributed to alcohol consumption each and every year. And the anxiety disorders column here, you guys, it's estimated anywhere from 5 to 12% of people in the United States have general anxiety disorder throughout their lifetime, and 3 to 7% have social anxiety disorder, with a lifetime prevalence again in the United States. So when you combine these different opportunities here, the global direct and indirect economic costs for mental health disorders in the United States alone is estimated to be about $2.5 trillion. So again, addressable market, absolutely massive in the United States alone, not to mention other countries around the world. And we're going to refer back to these drug compounds, the CYB003 and the CYB004, throughout today's presentation. Now, I mentioned in the intro, one of the key differentiators for Cybin, in my mind, really is the science behind this company. So Cybin is engineering next-generation psychedelic molecules, which we just referenced there, and they're transforming the mental health treatment landscape by combining novel psychedelic molecules with controllable drug delivery systems through our proprietary deuterated process, thus creating patent-protected, commercially scalable drug candidates. So they're leveraging novel, what's called second-generation psychedelics that are based on existing or well-known scaffolds, including psilocybin, DMT, and MDMA with improved bioavailability. They're leveraging cutting-edge neuroimaging technology to generate quantitative data to better understand psychedelic therapies, and they're actually developing groundbreaking psychotherapy that integrates leading clinical approaches to promote supportive healing with psychedelic medicine. So really looking at that holistic patient experience from end to end. And this unique approach, or what I'm going to call scientific superiority, really is what sets Cybin apart from some of the other players in this space. So in terms of the details behind these drugs or substances, this is a great visual here to really lay out the different psychedelic classes, the chemical structure of the molecules, and the primary target or receptor in the patient's mind. And you can see most of the activity at Cybin is really focused around 2 psychedelic classes, the first being tryptamine and the second being phenethylamines. Now within tryptamine, you've got psilocybin and psilocin, along with DMT and derivatives of DMT. Those are really targeting serotonin receptors in the brain, whereas the phenethylamine actually targets serotonin receptors and transport sites. So definitely an interesting slide, again, within the investor presentation to go in and take a closer look at for yourself. Now, the other thing I wanted to specifically call out here, in addition to the molecules described above, there are two other important factors in the psychedelic treatment regime identified by Cybin, and that's going to be the psychological support before, during, and after the treatment session, along with the actual dosing regimen itself. And again, these are some of the factors that differentiate Cybin's treatment model or outlook compared to some of the other players. Now, in terms of the details around these molecules, again, you've got CYB003. This is deuterated psilocybin analog with potential to effectively treat major depressive disorder, or MDD, and AUD, or alcohol use disorder, with potential for reduced side effects associated with other psychedelic therapies, which are currently in development. So again, cutting-edge technology that, in the opinion of the team at Cybin, is well above any of the other treatment solutions that are currently in the market. Now, some of the key features of this CYB003 molecule is reduced variability, improved bioavailability, and the potential for development of patentable NCEs, or new chemical entities. Now, next up is CYB004. This is deuterated dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, and again, this one's focused on the potential to effectively treat anxiety disorder with improved control versus traditional DMT via inhalation. So some of the features here are the reduced dose for better safety, potential to increase the duration of the effect, and the potential to alleviate negative experiences compared to traditional DMT. And the other thing I should mention on the CBY004 front is really in relation to the positive preclinical data that they're seeing from this molecule. So in terms of the actual results, 2,000% improved bioavailability compared to oral DMT, which is actually known to have limited to no oral bioavailability. They've got a 41% improvement in bioavailability compared to inhaled DMT, which will actually support lower dosing requirements, and a 300% increase in the actual duration of the effect compared to IV or intravenous DMT. So this is actually indicating the potential to extend the therapeutic window. So definitely very encouraging results across the preclinical data. And the final molecule, CYB005, again, this is in the discovery phase. This is a phenethylamine derivative, and this one, again, is focused on treating neuroinflammation in neurological and psychiatric conditions. So some of the features with CYB005, it's a psychoactive compound that activates the CNS, or central nervous system, long duration of action, favorable in vitro toxicity data, and comparatively good oral bioavailability. So the theme here, you guys, with each of these three molecules or substances is they're cutting edge, they're innovative, and they're looking to replace the existing treatments or substances that are in market that really, again, aren't meeting customer or patient requirements. And in terms of this research and development pipeline, you can see the various different molecules here, or the different programs currently underway at Cybin, and the progress each one of these programs has made towards the eventual registration or completion of the study itself. So CYB003, again used for MDD, or alcohol use disorder, has cleared the preclinical stage and is now targeting mid-2022 to initiate their phase 1 and 2A studies. CYB004, again used for anxiety disorders, is targeting Q3 of this year to initiate their pilot study, and CYB005, used to treat neuroinflammation, as we mentioned, is currently in the discovery phase. Now, the other two things I wanted to call out here, the EMBARK program. So this is psilocybin for mental distress in frontline healthcare workers. This is currently underway in terms of a phase 2 study, and they've also got a feasibility study underway for the psychedelic effects on the brain for their kernel flow neuroimaging technology. So a number of different things within the pipeline here, and a lot of catalysts coming down the pipe for Cybin in the near future. And that's exactly what this slide here talks about in terms of the timeline for developing these psychedelics to therapeutics over the next couple of quarters. And again, you can see the various different molecules called out here, whether it's CYB003, 004, or 005. Now, I mentioned there was a couple of articles I wanted to specifically call out that came out in the month of April here. So if we jump back over to the Cybin corporate website, under the investor tab, I'll leave a link in the video description below if you want to go in and take a look for yourself. You can see two articles here. This one came out April 13th. And it talks about Cybin announcing positive CYB004 data demonstrating significant advantages over intravenous and inhaled DMT. So again, this compares some of these proprietary molecules to the existing drugs or molecules being studied by other companies. So you can see inhaled CYB004 demonstrated more than 40% improved bioavailability over inhaled traditional DMT. And it's also showed significant advantages over intravenously administered DMT in preclinical studies. Now, this means there's a rapid onset, longer duration of action, and similar low variability achieved with a single inhalation of this CYB004 molecule or compound compared to intravenous DMT. Now, in terms of the specifics here, approximately 2,000% improved bioavailability compared to orally administered DMT, approximately 41% improved bioavailability compared to inhaled DMT, 300% longer duration of effect when compared to IV or intravenous DMT, and again, as mentioned, a rapid onset of effect and similar low variability, which is equivalent to IV DMT. So quicker onset, better effect, and overall much more efficient and effective molecule compared to traditional DMT. Now the article goes on to say the company or Cybin plans to submit a regulatory filing for a pilot study in the second quarter of this year and initiate the pilot study in the third quarter of 2022. CYB004 is a new chemical entity or an NCE for which a patent was issued by the US Patent and Trademark Office in February of last year. So this falls into that IP or intellectual property portfolio, and this is a great example of one of Cybin's proprietary molecules in action. Now the second article here came out April 21st, and this talks about a partnership. So Cybin partners with Clinilabs Drug Development Corporation for phase 1 and 2A trial evaluation of CBY003 for the treatment of MDD or major depressive disorder. So the details of this one, Cybin has now announced it's partnered with Clinilabs Drug Development Corporation, a global full-service contract research organization with deep expertise in central nervous system drug development to carry out the company's phase 1 and 2A clinical trials for CYB003, another proprietary molecule. And this is actually going to be the first psilocybin analog to be evaluated at this level or phase 1 and 2A development for the treatment of major depressive disorder. So again, a super exciting development from the team at Cybin, really continuing to push these molecules through the drug development pipeline. And I should note, this is super exciting because we're now starting to see jurisdictions around the world starting to open up their minds to these type of treatments. We actually have seen Oregon become the first state to legally roll out psilocybin. And I would expect, very similar to what we've seen in the cannabis industry, additional states will start to come on board as they see the benefits of these new treatment plans on the general population. And again, there's some great articles out in relation to these big developments that I'd encourage you to go in and take a closer look at for yourself. Now, before we end today's video, I did want to quickly talk about the leadership team, specifically the amount of experience and the track record this team has cumulatively, because in my mind, again, this is one of the major ways that Cybin has differentiated itself from other players in this space. So you can see whether you're talking about corporate, R&D, clinical, academic, or the advisory board, they've got over 400 years of combined experience in the drug development space, with some of the absolute biggest companies and research organizations in the world. So Lilly, Merck, Elan, Yale University, Harvard University, Pfizer, the Ontario Ministry of Health, and they've successfully helped develop and bring to market a wide variety of drugs which are currently in circulation. Not to mention, the team holistically has overseen 60 plus IND programs with FDA approval, and they've worked on the development for the first FDA approved psychedelic compound, which is to be covered by healthcare insurance. So this, again, we talk about in a lot of my videos, you guys, for small cap, penny stock type of companies, it's crucially important that the leadership team not only has that vision and that strong underlying business model or concept, but that they've also got the connections and the experience to bring that idea to fruition. And that's exactly what you're getting with the team here at Cybin. So for those reasons, you guys, I definitely think this one's worth a look, especially if you're looking for exposure to the biopharmaceutical space. Again, in summary here, why choose Cybin as a potential investment? It really boils down to the company, so the experienced management team, which we just covered, the multiple active drug programs, which we looked at in detail during today's presentation, and that well-capitalized structure, balance sheet, and cash position we talked about in the intro. Their approach is unique. They've got a strong and growing intellectual property portfolio across 3 different patent families, that robust preclinical pipeline of 50 plus novel psychedelic-based molecules and over 50 partnerships with world-class scientists to really support their R&D programs. Now, looking out into the future, they've got a number of short-term catalysts on the horizon here for the back half of 2022, and I would encourage you to check in frequently on the company website to stay up to date and informed about some of these big developments. And again, I'll leave a link to the company website in the video description below. Now, if you're still watching the video at this point in time, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button before you leave. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, please feel free to do so, and let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Cybin, how you think their business model stacks up to some of the other players in this space that we've recently covered on the channel. And with that being said, that's all for now, and thanks so much for watching.